The man, the myth, the legend that is Russell T Davies has written loads of Doctor Who. With his new Disney Plus era right on the horizon, I thought, what better time than now to have a look back at every single episode overseen or written by this iconic writer. So today I am going to be ranking every single Russell T Davies Doctor Who episode. Now, as I've said, this goes for everything that he oversaw, everything he was showrunner of. He talks in his book, The Writer's Tale, about how most episodes of the show he went into the script, even if he's not credited, he changed little bits and bobs just to make sure that it was all consistent and stayed the best show on television. So before you go, oh, Stephen Moffat wrote that episode, I know. That was a bad example because he does also say in The Writer's Tale, Stephen Moffat scripts, he barely ever touches, if at all. But it's all under his era. He was the showrunner while these episodes came out. I'll stop waffling and we'll just jump straight in. So, we've got this little tier list, and let's start with episode 1, Rose. Where would I rank Rose? I am going to go straight away, I'm going to stick with my gut, it's going in A. It's an A tier episode. It's not S tier. It's incredibly good, and I do love it, but I didn't watch it on original broadcast. I sort of joined Doctor Who. First episode I properly remember is Partners in Crime, but when I became the big obsessive nerd I am today, it was during the Matt Smith era. I think I was just a little bit too young to properly watch Doctor Who when Rose aired, and when I watched it back, I watched Rose for the first time probably around age 10, and I can't lie, there were moments like the burping bin. I distinctly remember going, huh? It felt dated to my 10-year-old self in 2013, which is kind of mad. I think there's a lot to love about this episode. What Russell does perfectly, no matter where, the characters are flawless. Always brilliant on character. But the burping bin and Plastic Mickey, Plastic Mickey looks ridiculous, and even as a kid I'm sort of sat there going, Rose, look at the guy sat next to you. Can you not tell that is not your boyfriend? I don't know. It's a very strong episode, but there are little bits here and there. And it's not just a complaint about CG, because the Nestine consciousness, the fact that looks a bit ropey now is fine. It was 2005, they were working on a low budget. There's a few moments in Rose which kind of make me cringe a little bit. That's me trying to look at it through a critical eye, because I absolutely love it. I adore it. Series 1 is one of my favourite seasons, as you will find out throughout this video. But yeah, Rose is a solid A tier. It's almost S tier, but there's just a few little bits that I'm kind of I don't know, they haven't aged fantastically, and it's so 2005 as well, and I say that in a good way. It's a chunk of history. But when trying to get people into the show now, if you say go back, start on episode 1 of Rose, it's still a very good introduction, but it's very clearly dated, which isn't the episode's fault, but yeah, A tier. Now, The End of the World. It's a good episode. I'm struggling between A and B. It's a good episode. It's not as good as Rose, I don't think, but once again, the character stuff like Jabe, the tree, the Doctor, Rose, Cassandra's great fun. What a character. I mean, the fact that you bring back this iconic show and just go, yep, we've got a bitchy trampoline as the main villain for episode 2. It's so Russell, so iconic. You've got Toxic that plays as well. It's so 2000s, but it works brilliantly. And the thing that really sells me on this episode is the end with the Doctor and Rose, when he tells her, he doesn't tell her loads, but he sort of talks and hints about the Time War, and then they go to get chips. That is such a cool scene. Performance-wise as well, Christopher Eccleston and Billie Piper, perfect, no notes. I think it's a very good episode at establishing the world. I'm going to put it in B tier, because it's not quite as good as Rose, but it is very, very good. Now, The Unquiet Dead. This is, I'm not going to lie, one of the only ones of Series 3, This is episode 3. Series 1, sorry. One of the only ones in Series 1 that I'm not 100% sold on. I do really like it, and I think it's cool that you've got Charles Dickens there. Like, Charles Dickens and ghosts. It's something only Doctor Who can, do, having a time traveller visit Charles Dickens. It's great fun. It's a great idea for a story, and I think it's written by Mark Gatiss, I'm pretty sure. It's not the best, but when you rewatch the entire series, it's not like I'm going, oh, this is a boring episode. I do enjoy watching it, but it's never one that I'll sort of instinctively rush to turn on. But I'm struggling. B or C? Let me know in the comments where you think it deserves to go. I think I'm going to go with C. Now, remember, this is relative to the rest of the Russell era. Because C feels very harsh, because it's still a good story. But no, I'm sticking with C. I'm going to stick with my guns. Aliens of London and World War III. By the way, 2-parters are counted as one story in this tier list. But Aliens of London and World War III. As a child, I absolutely loved it. It was great fun. And now, as an adult, I absolutely love it. It's so much fun. Harriet Jones is brilliant. The Slitheen are fantastic. And yes, I know I complained about a burping bin a minute ago, and now I'm going, wahey, farting aliens! But when you view it as an analogy for politicians talking out of their arses, it is quite funny, and I think it works really nicely. And obviously, you've got the whole commentary on the weapons of mass destruction with what was actually happening in the world in 2005. It's a brilliant episode. Harriet Jones as well, what an iconic character. The Doctor and Rose and the whole stuff with Jackie, I forgot for a second, the start of the episode is one of my favourites in Doctor Who history. Just the Doctor realising, oh dear, I'm a year out, and Rose has been missing for a year, and then Jackie smacks him around the face with, prove you're a doctor, stitch this. It's great fun. It's so intense as well. It's the first 2-parter of any of the Russell eras, and it delivers. It's brilliant. The cliffhanger as well is so cool. Oh no, they're all in their skin suits, the Prime Minister's dead. Great stuff. It's amazing. I love that episode. I'm going to put it in S. You know what? It's going up in S. Maybe that's a bit of my childhood nostalgia kicking in, but I loved it so much when I came to watch this series. Okay, Dalek is our next contender. S or A, it's definitely right up there. It's brilliant. This is the perfect sort of Doctor Who Base Under Siege story. It's not my favourite story of Doctor Who history, but it is very good, and I'm pretty sure someone in the comments will be able to tell me exactly what it was called, but it's based on a Big Finish audio drama, also written by Robert Shearman, I believe. I think it might be called Jubilee. That feels familiar. I may be wrong. Let me know in the comments if you want the answer. Go to the comments, you'll find it somewhere. But yeah, Dalek is brilliant. It sets up the Daleks in a near perfect way. The bit where it goes upstairs, I know, before someone comments it, yes, Daleks went upstairs in remembrance of the Daleks in the Sylvester McCoy era, but that Dalek going up the stairs, killing all the guards, shooting the water, and then electrifying everyone. It's so powerful. It's insane. And it genuinely does feel like a threat. It's not just, oh, we're the most evil creatures ever and we're going to kill you. It shows that. It is like the fundamentals of show, don't tell. They don't just say, I am a Dalek, I will kill you. Obviously, it does say that. But you actually see it happen. You see the devastation that one Dalek can cause, which, obviously, we'll get to it later. But when you get multiple Daleks, sometimes they kind of feel a little weak. But one Dalek on its own nearly destroys everything. It's brilliant. Absolutely amazing. You know what? I'm putting it in S tier as well. It's going right up there. Absolutely cracking episode. Now we're on to our first and only mid-episode of Season 1, or Series 1. Season 1's the new era. Series 1. The Long Game, it's good. It wastes Simon Pegg. He's he's an icon. I love Simon Pegg, and he just plays the Editor, who is the most generic Doctor Who villain ever. He's fun in the role, but I don't know. And I do like the themes, and I love that Adam, is a failed companion. That's cool. It also shows how good Rose is. That works nicely. I love the idea of the whole fake news and all that. And I think this episode is especially prevalent now. It hasn't aged poorly. Like, Elon Musk is putting brain chips in people as we speak. This episode, it already did that with the little click things. And the click, that's a fun idea. The Jagrafess is very generic, and it's fine. It's a fine episode. You know what? The more I think about it, the more I don't dislike it. It's not that I disliked it, but I always thought it was a bit mid. It's slightly better than mid. I'm going to put it in C as well. I'd say it's similar to The Unquiet Dead. I'd happily watch it, but I'd never sort of, like, if I've just made myself lunch, I'm not going to go, oh, let's turn on the long game. I'll go to another episode. But if I'm binging the entire series again, I'm happy to see the long game. It's good fun. Not the best story ever, but it's good fun. And, oh my god, speaking of best stories ever, Father's Day is going straight in S tier. What a cool episode. This is peak Doctor Who. Like, Father's Day is exactly how Doctor Who should be. Character-focused, time travel story. I love the idea. It's like Back to the Future is one of my favourite films, of going back on your own personal family history and discovering that, like, your parents, for example, aren't always what you thought of them. Or, like, it's such a cool idea. Father's Day does it so well. And, like, the Reapers as well. They're not the coolest villain ever, but they serve the story brilliantly. You don't need, like, every week to have a villain that goes, "Ha-ha, Doctor, I'm going to kill you." Like, the villain is basically time. She is fighting time to stay with her dad, and it's such a cool idea. And I think as well, the performances from everyone, it's brilliant. There's loads of little fun moments as well. I love when Christopher Eccleston's Ninth Doctor he says to that couple that are getting married, he's like, he described the story of how they met on, like, I think it's like on a night out or something, and the Ninth Doctor is just like, that's so perfectly human. I've never had a life like that. I never could, but that's brilliant. Keep fighting for it. And it's Doctor Who summed up perfectly. Eccleston really shines as the Doctor in this episode. Him and Rose have their first sort of falling out as well, which I think is really nice. And the fact that it ties back in, it's Russell's brilliant writing. It ties into episode 1. Rose chooses to go on the TARDIS because he says it's a time machine. So this has clearly been on her mind since day one. She wants to save her dad. Character motivations, brilliant. I absolutely love the opening scene where Jackie and little Rose are sat on the bed and she's like, "Oh, your father, Peter Allen Tyler." It's so good. Father's Day is S tier. One of the best episodes of Doctor Who ever. We're on a roll. Banger, banger, banger. Empty Child Doctor Dances, straight in S tier as well. This is Stephen Moffat's first Doctor Who script, apart from The Curse of Fatal Death. I am going to do a video exactly like this. Probably I'm going to record it this evening. I don't know when it will come out. But going through all the Stephen Moffat overseen episodes. So yeah, make sure you're subscribed and turn on the notification bell for that so that you don't miss out. But yeah, Empty Child and Doctor Dances, insane. It's so good. I remember, I don't know how copyright used to work on YouTube, but I watched this episode for the first time on YouTube on my, like, little really bad laggy laptop when I was probably around 10. Like, I think I was like year 5 or year 6. I was genuinely kind of terrified by it. Like, I rarely ever get scared by Doctor Who. I usually just look at it and go, that's really cool. This is one of the only times I've watched an episode and been genuinely creeped out. This and another Stephen Moffat penned episode, Blink. Those two are genuinely like, oh my god, this is quite creepy, especially as a child. And the World War II vibe to it all is brilliant. The Everybody Lives moment is fantastic. And Captain Jack is introduced. He's such a cool character. Irrespective of John Barrowman, the actor, and the controversy surrounding him, the character of Captain Jack Harkness is fantastic. This is like, it's perfect tea time family entertainment. Like, 6:30, sit down with your family, watch these episodes. It was brilliant. We did that as a family in lockdown. Like, when the world, you couldn't leave your house, we watched an episode of Doctor Who, like, every night. And this season, or series, was so good. These 2 episodes in particular, I think we watched back to back. It's a brilliant story. It's got all you need from Doctor Who. Creepy, fun, cool, heartwarming, family, yeah, banging. Now we get to Boomtown. You know what? I am tempted to put this in S tier. And you know what? Maybe I'm being a bit too generous here, but it's going straight in S tier. It's another banger. I absolutely love it. If you'll pardon the pun, boom. A boomer. It's not a boomer. There's probably boomers watching this video. Hello, boomers. I don't know where that was going. But Boomtown, really cool. I love the moral dilemma aspect of the episode. Like, when you go into like a room, let's say we were going to pitch this episode. It's such a cool idea. The Doctor has to take an alien back to their home planet, but if he does, they're going to be killed. But it's not the Doctor killing them, or is it? Is the Doctor the executioner? All those ideas are really, really fun. Also, for an episode that's supposedly like a budget-saving episode, because it's literally just all set in Cardiff, it's brilliant. Because once again, as I keep harkening back to, if you'll pardon the pun, Harkness, never mind. As I keep saying, Russell's understanding and the way he writes characters is basically perfect. Like 9 times out of 10, it's genuinely brilliant. Like, the motivations of everyone in this episode are so fun. And like, even Mickey, like, you like him as a character. Like, I feel like episode 1 with Rose, Mickey's a bit like, oh, who cares, get rid of him. That's kind of the point. But when you get to Boomtown, you do care about Mickey. Like, Rose she's not very nice to him. And it's nice to have our protagonist sort of properly challenged before we go into the finale. We're on the finale, which once again, I pirated off YouTube as a 10-year-old on my old laptop. I loved it. We'll talk about part 1 and part 2 slightly separately, but part 1 is kind of dated now because it is like, oh, 2005, you've got Big Brother, you've got Weakest Link, and I know Big Brother is actually back now on UK TVs, so I suppose that part hasn't dated, but like the Weakest Link... Actually, hang on, I think the Weakest Link is back as well. I could be wrong, someone let me know in the comments, but yeah, maybe I'm just chatting waffle. Point is, even if you don't know the shows the episodes are based on, it's still a really fun piece of entertainment, and once again, I love the sort of commentary of humans just sort of watching drivel, and like, they don't go out and do anything anymore, everyone just sits at home. It's like a cool dystopian future, and that cliffhanger is one of the best cliffhangers in Doctor Who history. This and Dalek may be the best examples of how to write the Daleks ever. Like, it's insane when he just says no. And they're like, what's the meaning of this negative? It means no. Rose, I'm coming to get you. Like, what a way to end an episode. Yeah, it's got to go in S tier. Both of them. And then Parting of the Ways as well is absolutely brilliant or fantastic. Haha, see what I did there? It's brilliant. When he sends Rose home, so emotional. Once again, every character. Jackie gets her moment when she brings the truck. Mickey gets his time to shine. It's so good. The only thing I'd kind of go, to is Bad Wolf. It does technically make sense, but it's a bit of like, it's a little bit waffly. Sometimes some of these plot lines are a little bit waffly, and I feel like Bad Wolf is kind of one of them. Like, I know she scatters the words throughout time, but if I saw Bad Wolf in a load of places, I wouldn't go, aha, that means I need to go to the TARDIS and go back to him. I suppose maybe you would. Maybe I'm being quite harsh. That's the only part I've got as a criticism, and I'll go back to talking about how much I love it, because it's brilliant. The ending to part 2 is perfect. Like, it may be my favourite regeneration episode. It's flawless. Like, I think you need a doctor, and the energy going there, and Captain Jack dying, and then Rose bringing him back. And you kind of get that, like, Genesis of the Daleks-esque moment where he's got his hands on the detonator thing, and the Emperor Dalek's going, you're not going to do it? And he's like, no, I'm not. I'd rather be a coward. Like, the wrap-up of the Time War arc, it's not really a wrap-up, but that little, the bookmark in the Time War arc there is brilliant. Christopher Eccleston is on top form, especially knowing like the behind the scenes of him not particularly enjoying production at this point in time and him wanting to leave. It doesn't show in his performance. It's perfect. That is season 1 done. Christopher Eccleston has departed the show, and in comes the legendary David Tennant with the Christmas Invasion. Now, I've been very, very nice throughout this video so far. This isn't at David Tennant, by the way, but see, Series 2 is It's not my favourite, so I'm going to be interested to see where I put these episodes. Christmas Invasion, however, I absolutely love. I am tempted to put it in S tier, but I'd probably go A, because it is very, very good. I do want to put it in S tier, but I feel like I've put everything in S tier. But no, you know what? I'm moving it up to S tier. It's brilliant. He's barely in the episode, but it is a perfect introduction to the 10th Doctor. He shows up in his pyjamas with a Satsuma and saves the world in about 10 minutes flat. It's insane. And Harriet Jones again, she's so fun. Mickey, the domestic side of everything. Jackie, it's all brilliant. You've also got the action in it as well, like the little sword fight on top of the thing, and then the Sycorax falling. Yeah, you know what? Christmas Invasion is S tier as well. Okay, Flawless Time has ceased. Episode 1 of Series 2, New Earth. I genuinely don't know where to put this. It's alright. It's fine. I don't think it's a great episode 1 to a series. You could have a better, start, and maybe it's a recycled script from originally it was going to be Christopher Eccleston in it, because obviously he left the production, but why would you have one of the first times we meet a new Doctor be a body swap episode? Let us get to know the Doctor first before we start, fun body swap stuff. And Cassandra, I think there are some really good lines. That it's very funny in points. I don't know, some of it's a little bit childish for me. I think the cat nuns are a really cool idea, but it's not... I don't know. Some of it is a bit cringe, and it's never an episode where I'm going to go, that's the one for me. I'm going to rewatch that one. As I say, in a binge watch, I'm not going to go, oh God, we're at this episode. But I'm apathetic towards it. I'm going to put it in C. Yeah, it's fine. It's not bad. It's just fine. Tooth and Claw. I didn't particularly like this episode, but I will admit, in November, I was forced to rewatch it and went, I was a bit wrong. It's actually quite good. I'm going to put it in B. It's not the best ever, and I do think part of my issue with Series 2 is I loved the dynamic between Eccleston and Rose so much, and then Tennant comes in, and I think it gets a little bit too lovey-dovey, maybe a little bit too cringe. Cringe is a very harsh word, but I don't vibe with it fantastically. And there's a lot of back and forth. There is the very funny line of Rose trying to get Queen Victoria to say, I am not amused, but I don't know, other parts of it I think are a bit, yeah. And werewolves, I'm not particularly a fan of. Not that there's fan clubs for werewolves, but they're fine. And the monk people, I think they're quite boring. They're quite generic. They're just there. It's okay. But then we get School Reunion. That's going in A. It's... no, I'm going to keep it in A, because it's not quite as good as some of the ones I've put in S tier, but it is impeccable. Sarah Jane is such a cool character, and the way Russell sort of seamlessly integrates a classic Who companion in, and K9 as well, I think, yeah, they're brilliant. And things like K9 can be easily mocked, but the script acknowledges that and goes oh yeah, it's retro, it's funny, and oh, I'm the tin dog. And obviously as well, this is the episode that sort of sets up the Sarah Jane adventures, which as a child was one of my favourite shows. I think at points in my life, I even loved it more than Doctor Who as a child. Yeah, Sarah Jane is brilliant. Elizabeth Sladen's performance is fantastic. Yeah, it deserves A, possibly S. If there was a category in between A and S, that's where it would go. Now we're on to Girl in the Fireplace. I don't have too much to say on it. B. It's a good story. It's not amazing. It's good. It's cool. I love Doctor Who when it does the time travel-y stuff, which is basically every week, but you've got proper time travel-y stuff in this. Meeting the child version of a character out of order, which, because this is written by Stephen Moffat, became quite the trope in his writing. Now that he's coming back for the new RTD2 era, I do wonder if we are going to meet a child version of a character, then see them grown up, because he does it in The Girl in the Fireplace, he does it with Amy Pond, He does it with River Song. He does it with the kid from Return of Dr. Mysterio. He kind of does it with Clara in a mini episode, and there's probably ones I'm missing. Let me know in the comments if there are. But that's 7 already where you get the same sort of thing. But also, it does make sense. Like, if you're a time traveller and your like best mate is with you, you would probably go back along their timeline. I don't know. It's not. I'm making a mountain out of a molehill. It's a good episode. It's going in B. Rise of the Cybermen and the Age of Steel. It's another one of those episodes that I do enjoy when I watch it. Like, I sort of forget how good it is, because it is good. It's not peak, but it's good. I think I'm going to put it in B as well. I prefer Cybermen when, like, my favourite Cybermen are the Mondasian ones. I love it when they're more human and creepy. And I do like that you can see, like, John Lumick's brain when he becomes the cyber leader. It is aged well, because, like, the whole... They basically have AirPods in, and, like, that it's a fun idea, fun future parallel world. And the stuff with Rose's dad is quite nice, but... I don't know, I prefer Cybermen to be a bit more human and less manufactured. It does make sense narratively, and I think Russell does a really good job at introducing the Cybermen to a new audience. Like, you get everything you need to know, boom, here are the new Cybermen, and they're very 2005. I prefer them not stompy, because they're very slow. Very stompy. The conclusion's quite cool as well, like him giving their emotions back to them and them just not being able to process it and blowing up. I love playing with the Cyberman, like, consciousness, how much of the human is still inside their brain aspect of it. That's fun. But let's move on to the Idiot's Lantern. Mid. It's going in C. D is too negative for it. It's going in C. It's fine. It's alright. The ending's a bit bizarre. Like, why Rose tells the kid, no, your horrible, horrible, borderline abusive father, be nice to him, he's your dad. It's not a fantastic message, is it? But, yeah, it's okay. The Wire is a little bit too much for my liking at points. The feed me is a little bit silly, but it's quite fun. It's staying in C. It's not going any higher. Then we get the Impossible Planet and the Satan Pit. Now, I think I have a relatively controversial opinion on this, because everyone that I say, nah, I like the episode, it's not amazing to, goes, oh, you can't say that, this is one of the best episodes of Doctor Who ever. And I know that a lot of people view it as their favourite episodes, or episode. But it's good. It's good. I'm putting it in B. It's good. I enjoy it. The Ood are really cool. Fun little fact, did you know that originally they were going to have the Slitheen instead of the Ood in that episode for budgetary reasons, because they wanted to reuse the costumes, but thankfully that changed and we got the Ood, who are voiced by that guy from Star Wars. Someone tell me his name in the comments. I will admit I haven't rewatched it for a very long time. I remember, I don't know if I'll still have the same emotions towards it, but I remember being a little bit like, when Rose and David Tennant had that conversation about, we now that the TARDIS is gone, maybe we have to settle down and blah, 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 blah. Like, I know it's the theme of that's the life the Doctor could never live, but no, Doctor, you don't settle down, which is going to come back into play later, because I do actually like when he settles down in the giggle, which is interesting. I just don't want him to settle down with Rose, because it feels like he's almost... he's giving up the life of the Doctor to live a life of love, and I prefer tragedies. Love and Monsters. It's a weird one. It's an odd one, I shan't lie to you. It is odd. But it's not bad odd. And there's like a context you can view it in that, I don't know how true it is, but people say the Absorbal Off is inspired by a certain person who's well known within the Doctor Who community, which I think that's quite funny if true. But yeah, it's a nice experimental one. It's fine. It's another one of there's a lot of series 2. It's like what I'm saying, you get series 1's brilliant, and series 2 it's like, I rarely ever find myself watching an episode from series 2 and going, yeah, that was peak. Love and Monsters, I feel like it gets a bad rap. I'm going to put it in B or C. B or C. How harsh am I feeling? C. Yeah, it's going in C because I didn't want to be traumatised by Moaning Myrtle in a paving slab, implying that certain things happen with Elton, which... Let's move on. Let's move on to Fear Her, which I'm going to put in D. Boring, boring, boring. Fear Her. Meh. I don't hate it as much as other people do. I don't think it's a really terrible episode or anything. It's got a couple of fun moments, like when he parks the TARDIS the wrong way, almost walks into a crate and parks it the other way, and the ending with the Olympic stuff. That's fun. I don't have too much to say. It's not my vibe. I don't love it. And the Doctor and Rose are doing their little mildly cringeness again, so it's staying in D. Now, Army of Ghosts and Doomsday, I think, I don't love it as much as a lot of people do, and it's never made me cry. Maybe it's because I knew that Rose would come back when I watched the episode, because I knew she was back for Series 4, because I didn't watch it live. But, I don't know, it is a good ending, it's an iconic ending, but once again, I'm not the biggest Ten and Rose shipper. It's fine. The Daleks are cool. That reveal is brilliant. I love the little, bitch fight of Canary Wharf, where you get the Daleks and the Cybermen, shouting at each other. That's really, really fun. It's the weakest Russell T Davies finale, in my opinion. So I'm going to put it at B. B. B feels fair. It's going in B. Yeah. Okay, then we move on to Donna Noble. Well, ish. Donna Noble briefly. The Runaway Bride. I'm going to put it in A. I really like The Runaway Bride. It's really good fun. Donna is fantastic in it. She's not peak Donna yet. Series 4 is peak Donna. Flawless Donna. This is pretty good Donna. Pretty funny Donna. Both her and Tennant, I feel, are a lot more comfortable in their roles when you get to Series 4, but that's not to say this episode isn't good. There's a load of fun moments. The TARDIS motorway chase. That one of the best scenes in Doctor Who. It's what I keep saying, it's the family drama. As a kid, watching the TARDIS go down a motorway, every motorway you go on after that, you just look I'm imagining a TARDIS going there. I used to have the little, action figure TARDIS, which I'd just spin by the window, imagining it was outside the window, because that's how cool I was as a child. But yeah, the imagination factor. The Rachnos, not the best villain ever. It's quite cool. It also sets up the Mr. Saxon as Prime Minister thing, which is very clever, because that's another theme of Russell. He sets everything up brilliantly. Runaway Bride is going in A. Now, Smith and Jones, I'm also going to put straight into A. Really cool introduction. Martha's great. Yeah, Jadoon, very fun villain. Or I suppose they're not technically a villain, kind of anti-hero-ish. It's probably the wrong word to describe them, but yeah, A tier, very fun. I love when Doctor Who takes a normal, sort of everyday, real-world thing like a hospital, just plonks it on the moon, and the rain going upwards, backwards rain. Such a fun idea. It's a really nice introduction to Martha and her family. Yeah, Smith and Jones, A tier. The Shakespeare Code. Yeah, Gareth Roberts, the guy who wrote it, has not fantastic opinions on Twitter, to put it lightly, but I will admit, I do enjoy the Shakespeare Code. There's a couple of parts of it that haven't aged fantastically, but overall, it's quite a fun watch, and especially as a kid, I thought, you know what, that's an enjoyable episode. It's also the only New Who, I think actually maybe the only bit of Doctor Who ever, to be filmed right near where I live, which probably makes me a little bit biased, but yeah, they use a street in Coventry for the Shakespeare Code, which I sometimes walk down and go, wow, Doctor Who was filmed here. But yeah, Shakespeare Code going in B. It's not the best, but it's a fun little story. Martha's good in it. I like that Shakespeare's kind of like a rock star for the 16th century. So yeah, Shakespeare Code, B. Gridlock, yeah, it's fine. C. That's all I really have to say. The ending's nice. I like the Face of Bow stuff. I like the themes of, like, religion and how everyone sings Abide With Me. Maybe I'm being a bit harsh. Maybe it should go in B. I'm going to leave it in C, because it's, once again, it's never something I go, oh, I must rewatch Gridlock. There's a lot of episodes of Doctor Who that occasionally just pop into my mind and I'm like, bang, I need to rewatch that. Gridlock, it's not one of them. The Face of Bow stuff at the end is really nice, and it's brilliant writing, setting up the Yana, You Are Not Alone. Yeah, really nice. Gridlock's fun. And I do like the speech at the end where he admits he's lying to Martha. That's good. Maybe it deserves B. No, I'm going to leave it in C. No, I'm moving it to B. It's quite fun. The more I think about it, the more I do actually enjoy Gridlock. Daleks in Manhattan and Evolution of the Daleks. Weird Spider-Man crossover with Andrew Garfield, but yeah, it's a fun episode. People, I don't know, there seems to be a relatively negative perception of this two-parter within the fandom. And in Russell T Davies' book, The Writer's Tale, that I mentioned earlier, he talks about the writer of this episode. I think she got quite a bit of, like, hate on Gallifrey Base, the Doctor Who forums. I don't really get why. I think it's a good episode. I'm going to put it in B... A or B... A. You know what? I like it. Yeah, every time I've rewatched it, I've gone, hang on, that's a really good Dalek story. Because I feel like Doomsday, the Daleks are still quite threatening. This, the Daleks are more threatening than they are in Doomsday, and every point after this they get slightly less threatening. Yeah, the experimentation with Dalek Sec and stuff, very fun idea, and the New York setting is very funky. I'm going to put it in A. Okay, the Lazarus experiment. The CGI, obviously, I feel like I don't need to bully the CGI. We all know it's not very good. It's fine. It's another one of those Doctor Who episodes where it's like, not filler, but it's kind of just there. It's going in C. Yeah. Maybe D. It's going in C. It's fine. And the stuff on the organ at the end is quite cool. There's some cool locations, cool ideas. Staying in C. 42 is going straight into D. Sorry, Mr. Chris Chibnall. I know this is your first contribution to the Whoniverse, but it could have been a lot better. Could have been slightly better written, especially the last part. There was a lot of silly monsters and running up and down corridors. It wasn't very challenging for the audience to watch. If you don't know, that's a quote from Chris Chibnall himself when he was probably around my age, talking about Doctor Who, and he fulfilled his own prophecy in the episode 42. There have been episodes of Chris Chibnall Doctor Who that I absolutely adore. Sadly, this isn't one of them. It's fine. That is the biggest compliment I can give it. It is one of the only episodes of Doctor Who I don't think I have ever watched all the way through more than once, which doesn't sound like the biggest, but almost every episode of Doctor Who, the revival, I have watched at least 3 or 4 times, apart from this one. I just can't. It's so like, There's a really nice moment with Martha on the phone to her mum, but apart from that, the rest of it I think is just sort of like, it's all right. But then we move into peak era. S tier is going to be full to the brim in a minute, because Human Nature and Family of Blood is going straight up there. It's insane. I think this is one that's based on a Target novel or a New Adventures book. I can't really remember. Someone correct me in the comments. But it's so good. It's so good. The cliffhanger is really cool. The setting is really cool. The ending is really cool. The setting up of the pocket watch with the Time Lord consciousness in is really, really cool. I keep saying really cool because the episode is really cool. Or episodes. It's got the drama. It's got the intensity. It's got... The villains are really cool. I keep saying cool. I'm banning the word cool now. No more cool. The villains are scary. Like, they're proper, like... Oh, I wouldn't want to be around them. I'm not doing it justice. It's just a very, very good two-parter. Like, the idea of the Doctor becoming human and then, like, not being very nice to Martha because he doesn't really know that they're, like, besties. It's such a fun idea. Martha really, shines through as a companion in this episode. Like, she puts up with the Doctor's rubbish, which maybe she shouldn't do, but she allows it because I think, like, it's obvious she adores him. She maybe even loves him. And I think, once again, the character dynamics from Mr. T. Davies, fantastic. And the ending monologue, it haunts everybody's dreams. Like, when the Doctor, there's that speech about, like, he didn't raise his voice, he was being kind, and he's trapped the sister in the mirror, and then he's thrown one of them into like a vortex, he's trapped someone in chains, and he turns one of them into a scarecrow. Very funky S-tier story. And so is Blink. Straight in S-tier. I touched on it earlier, but this is one of the only other Doctor Who episodes to genuinely kind of scare and unnerve, and not terrify, but unnerve me. Maybe even terrify at a younger age. Blink's brilliant. Like, the backstory to Blink as well. I won't lie, I spent about 2 hours the other week trying to find a picture of the original Weeping Angel, because I listened to a talk where Stephen Moffat said the inspiration for this episode came from, I think he was on like a family holiday or family walk, and he saw a crying angel in a church graveyard that was sort of behind some Wester Drumlins type gates with keep out, unstable structure and all of that. He saw it, then when he went back to see it, because he like after he'd written the episode, he went back to go, this is the original Weeping Angel. It was gone. It was gone, and not only was it gone, there's no real record of it anywhere. So Moffat's kind of like, did I imagine it? Or are the Weeping Angels real? Spent about an hour or two just Googling the church that he was talking about, trying to find historic photos of it. I can't find any record. If anyone out there can find the original Weeping Angel, you're an icon. You're a legend and a star. Go and do it. Link it in the comments, please. That would be really fun. Blink is a fantastic episode. It's another Doctor-like one. Sally Sparrow she's a brilliant person. Brilliant person, she's not real. But she'd be a brilliant companion if she were to carry on in the series. And I think the actress is Carrie Mulligan, who's now relatively famous, I think. She won't come back to Doctor Who, I shouldn't imagine. But it's a very cool episode, very cool character. Utopia. I'm going to put it in A. It's almost S tier. The ending is certainly S tier. But, like, it's set up. It's kind of setting up the 3-part finale, so it's never going to be the most action-packed story ever. Performance-wise from everyone, really cool. I think the future kind are a little bit, they're fine. It's kind of like, we've got some sharp teeth in the BBC props cupboard, so they've got sharp teeth and they're evil. The rest of the episode, the final 10 minutes, insane. The Doctor talking to Jack about immortality, 10 out of 10, no notes. And obviously, the Master. Best villain, best Doctor Who villain, flawless stuff from John Sim and Derek Jacobi. Then, speaking of Mr. John Sim, Sound of Drums and The Last of the Time Lords. I'm putting it in S tier for now. By the end of this sentence, I may have put it in A tier, because Part 1, Sound of Drums, 10 out of 10. 11 out of 10. It's the perfect reintroduction of the Master to the show. The ending, however, of episode 2 is a little bit waffly again. The power of prayer, basically, brings the Doctor back. He literally becomes Space Jesus. He's floating around with his arms like that, and blue energy, and it's bizarre. It is bizarre. But it is more than made up for with the, once again, character drama. You think Martha's mum is about to shoot and kill the Master once the day is saved, but it's Lucy Saxon, who has been progressively getting more bruises over her face as the episode goes on, which is a detail you don't notice as a kid, but then when you grow up, you're like, oh God, like the Master, he's not just an evil psychopath, he's like an evil psychopath. The character stuff there, it's brilliant. I'm glad she shoots him. And then him refusing to regenerate because it's the only way he can win over the Doctor. The Master never wins. The Master never has won. The Master never will win, apart from in that moment. He knows that they're the last 2 Time Lords. The Doctor wants more than anything to get his friend back. And he chooses to just die, just to spite the Doctor. It's so petty. It's so well written, and it is the most in-character thing for the Master to do ever. Genuinely brilliant. Absolutely adore it. S tier. As I say, there are a couple of waffly moments, like as well the Doctor turning into like little CGI Dobby. Bit odd. I don't hate it. There's so many cool moments in it. I've got to put it in S tier. Yeah, it's brilliant. And the Master's rise to power and him being the Prime Minister, Archangel Network, Captain Jack, Martha and the Doctor's dynamic, it's really cool. I also love Martha's goodbye and her sort of acceptance of, well, it's like, yeah, this dynamic isn't working. It's not an equal thing. You're not over Rose, I'm not over you. I need to go off and live my life and look after my family. It's really, really nice. Now, Voyage of the Damned, A or B? It's like Doctor Who's disaster movie. I'm going to put it in B. It's quite harsh. If there was a category in between A and B, it would go there. But yeah, it's fun. Kylie Minogue's cool. Yeah, I think this is the episode that got the highest amount of viewing figures of new Doctor Who ever, which is probably 1, the Christmas Day slot, and 2, Kylie Minogue's involvement. But yeah, Voyage of the Damned is fun. It's cool. It's not perfect, but it's fun. And the ending, the more I think about it, the more I want to put it in A, but I'm not going to. The ending where it almost crashes into Buckingham Palace, then flies over, and then just to top it off, you've got the Queen going, "Thank you, Doctor." It's very fun. It's very funny. I'm happy with it in B. It's slightly better than B, but it's not as good as the rest of them in A. Partners in Crime. What a banger. Let's go in A. It's a really cool introduction to Donna. I know we've technically met her before in The Runaway Bride, but reintroduction to Donna is the better phrase. Really cool. The Adipose are great. As I say, this is probably the first Russell T Davies episode I actually ever watched. I loved it. It was really fun. It's what this channel is named after. The Confused Adipose. Adipose were the first Doctor Who villains I saw, and I was like, okay, you've piqued my interest, Doctor Who. I am intrigued. Fires of Pompeii, immediately gains 10 points for having Peter Capaldi in. The best Doctor. Brilliant. He's not playing the Doctor, but he's in it. It's great fun. Fires of Pompeii is another solid story. I'm going to put it in A. B feels a bit too harsh because it is... I enjoy it a lot. It's still brilliant. Like, yeah, it's cool. There's not too much to say. Moral dilemma at the end. Flawless. That's exactly what Doctor Who should be doing. Peak sort of sci-fi concepts. Brilliant stuff. Fires of Pompeii is an A-tier episode. Planet of the Ood, I'm going to put straight in A-tier as well. It's perfect sort of monster of the week style. The political commentary and it's really well done. It plays out nicely. It's got an important message, and as well, it's still entertaining. It's not like it's just throwing a message out there going, look at the message. It's still family drama, entertainment, makes you empathise with the characters. Donna's journey as well, from Partners in Crime to Fires of Pompeii to Planet of the Ood, her wanting to go back home. It's brilliant. And Catherine Tate's performance as well. So good. Genuinely. But I'm tempted to put... Yeah, I'm going to move Planet of the Ood up to S. It's not like a historic episode of Doctor Who that you're going to remember forever. But it's a very, very good episode. Like, it's very good. Sontaran Stratagem and the Poison Sky. Brilliant introduction to the Sontarans and to New Who. Atmos is a really nice idea. Wilf gets his time to shine in this episode. I haven't mentioned Wilf yet. He is literally... top 3 Doctor Who characters of all time. Adore Wilf. Wilf's inclusion probably helps get it to it. I'm going to put it in an A. A tier, feels good. It's brilliant. The Sontarans are funny. The plan is cool. It's a good idea. And it obviously ties into the whole missing planets story arc, which it flows really nicely. Sontaran Stratagem is a well-deserved A. And the Poison Sky. Yeah, I'm thinking about the ending as well. The ending's really cool. Martha coming back for a bit. It's really nice. The only bit I'm not 100% sold on are the clones. The Atmos sat-nav at the start as well. Brilliant. Love that. I think, once again, the writer's tale, that was an idea that Russell had and gave to this writer to try and make the episode more... like vibey, and he was very sad that he had to get rid of that idea for something he didn't write, but yeah, it works really nicely. Okay, The Doctor's Daughter. This is a historic episode because this is, you'll know this if you're a proper fan of Doctor Who, if you're like a massive nerd basically, but Georgia Tennant, who was Georgia Moffat, is the daughter of Peter Davison, who was the Fifth Doctor, and she plays the Doctor's daughter, and then she started dating David Tennant's Doctor. No, she starts dating David Tennant, not the Doctor, and now they're married. So she is the wife of one Doctor, and the daughter of another, and the daughter of the real Doctor in the narrative. It's complicated, timey-wimey. However, this is, in my opinion, the weakest episode of Series 4. It's good, I do enjoy it, but I'm going to put it in B. Yeah. There's also a light in the final, I think it's the second to final shot. When they're in the TARDIS, there is just like a light that shouldn't be there. Like it's on a little stand, and it's just shining at David Tennant, and it's kind of like, did they not think to not get the light in shot? I don't know. It's a fun episode, and obviously, yeah, they were very rushed with production, so I understand. It happens. But, yeah, we'll move on to, I can't read that, The Unicorn and the Wasp. Oh, I love The Unicorn and the Wasp. Really good fun. I'm going to put it in A. It's almost deserving of S. Yeah, I'm going to put it in S. Why not? It's really fun. I loved it as a child, and I still love it now. It's a murder mystery with Agatha Christie. Why was there a little pause? Chris, space D. A murder mystery with Agatha Christie. I can't say it, but it's a really cool concept. It's very fun. It's very Doctor Who. And Tennant and Tate, their dynamic is perfect in this episode. Let's move. Silence in the Library, Forest of the Dead. That's going in A. Very, very good. River Song's introduction is brilliant. I think that's my favourite time we ever see River Song, which is kind of mad because we see her loads after this. Her first episode's her best episode. She's flawless in it. The episode's brilliant. It's another one. It didn't terrify me, but I get why it's creepy. And I appreciate the creepy vibe, the creepy aesthetic to the episode. A tier. Midnight. A or S? A or S? A or S? S. It's brilliant in it. I'm pretty sure Russell wrote that script over like a week. And he produced that in a week. Like, legend. It's so creepy. The speaking back to each other is weird. And the cast are brilliant. And the fact that the woman who sacrifices herself at the end, we don't even know the name of. It's so emotional, so hard-hitting, and just, yeah, it's a Donna Light episode. Brilliant. S tier. Turn Left. I can't keep putting them all there, but I can. That's also going in S tier. Why is it switched? There we go. Brilliant. Who doesn't love Turn Left? It's such a cool concept. Once again, I think Doctor Who for me is at its peak when it's playing with time and time travel, because it does it perfectly in Turn Left. Like, seeing the world without the Doctor, it's such a nice... Because we're nearly at the end of the Russell T Davies 1 era. It's such a nice conclusion to see everything play out without the Doctor. Rose comes back properly as well, and she's brilliant in it. I don't have that same annoyance I had in Series 2. Billie Piper's perfect in it, and I feel like Rose is less whiny now. She's properly like... Boom, I'm here. Where's the Doctor? Let's find him. It's not to say there's no whining, because if we start talking about Stolen Earth and Journey's End, we do get a little bit of it, but it's understandable there. Like, and it's quite funny when she goes like, "Oh, I was here first," at Martha on the Zoom call thing. Stolen Earth and Journey's End, I'm going to have to put in S tier as well. I think this is, apart from the World Enough and Time and the Doctor Falls from Series 10, this is the best finale, or the most fun finale. Everyone coming back is brilliant, and I think the British public as well, everyone was talking about it. Like, the cliffhanger, the Doctor sees Rose, runs towards Rose. I'm not even a Ten and Rose shipper. but it's so emotional. And then he gets shot by a Dalek. And, like, there's that clip of Russell T Davies talking about, like, oh, every perfect love story, you need a Dalek in there to just kill the protagonist. It's so cool. And then Jack showing up, Sarah Jane showing up, Torchwood, what's his name, Luke, Mr. Smith, Jackie, everyone is back. Harriet Jones, she gets her final redemption from what she did with the Sycorax back in Christmas Invasion. It is such a nice conclusion. Even the Jadoon crop up, like they go to the Shadow Proclamation and all that, and it looks brilliant. The Daleks as well are so cool. Like, because there's so many of them and you can just shoot them with a gun now, they're slightly less threatening, but they're still cool. The second everyone starts crying, Sarah Jane's expression when she hears over the speakers that the Daleks are on their way, that's peak Doctor Who. The cliffhanger, brilliant. And Davros as well, I keep forgetting Davros is in this episode, the Supreme Dalek, everything about it is brilliant. The Dr. Donna at the end as well, that sacrifice is the best Doctor Who companion exit ever. Like, it's so sad, but was it ruined by the 60th? Find out later in this video. Let's move on to the next Doctor. Yeah, it's alright. That's just my review. Yeah, it's alright. It's a cool idea. A, no. B, yeah. It's alright. Jackson Lake's a cool character. Cyber King's a bit silly. It's Doctor Who. It's Christmas Day. It's allowed to be silly. Going in B. Planet of the Dead. It's alright. It's going in B. Yeah, it's going in B. Good. It's fun. The bus flying at the end. Really good. Lady Christina de Souza, or whatever her name is. I think that's her name. She's fine. She's not amazing. She's fine. What's of Mars? Wow. Straight up into S tier. Once again, it's the time. Playing with time. Time travel. There's a theme here. The laws of time are mine, and they will obey me, is one of the best lines in the show. It's, from start to finish, the best based Under Siege Doctor Who story ever. Him and Adelaide, their dynamic, grows and grows and grows. Then her, like, suicide at the end. It's insane. Like, it leaves you going, oh God. The Doctor without a companion could just be the most evil person ever. He would be the best supervillain ever. Waters of Mars, S tier. Then we've got The End of Time Part 1 and 2. I wish these were split into separate things, because Part 1 is a bit mid, as much as it pains me to say. I do enjoy it, and the talk with Wilf and the Doctor in the cafe, 10 out of 10. Brilliant scene, but it's a bit slow. The prophecy stuff as well, it's a little bit waffly. The Master coming back because the ancient books of Saxon... What are you talking about, man? It's fine, it's funny. The cactus people as well, I'm not a big fan of. I think the makeup on them is a little bit silly. There are some brilliant moments of dialogue, though, and it is such an achievement. Like, this is the conclusion to all of the stuff. And Gallifrey briefly coming back. Timothy Dalton as Rassilon is perfect casting as well. But yeah, the final, I'd say, 45 minutes of End of Time Part 2 is peak Doctor Who. The Doctor's choice of shooting the Master or Rassilon, then him shooting the thing, then he will knock 4 times, coming to a head with Wilf banging on the glass. It's oh my gosh, it's so sad. And I don't want to go as well. It's a very sad final line. It's the only thing I'd say is the episodes make it a little bit difficult for, like, Moffat coming in to establish a new Doctor and not have the audience go, well, it's not David Tennant, so I'm not watching again. But also, that's not really a problem with the script. The script's brilliant. It's the ending of the script, the final 45 minutes. Rest of it, I think it could do with a quicker pacing. You could lose the cactus people as well. Wilf in this episode it's so brilliant. Sean Noble gets introduced as well. We'll talk about him in a minute. But yeah, End of Times Part 1 and 2, End of Time even. I'm going to put in A. The final 45 minutes where he says goodbye to everyone, regenerates, has that stuff with Rassilon and the Master, that is beyond S tier. That's like flawless Doctor Who. But the rest of it, and the old people on the bus, it's funny, and it is fun, and I know it was Christmas Day, but it's still like, meh. Okay, that's the wrap-up of Russell T Davies' first era. We've only got a couple of episodes to do now, but overall, I think the most episodes are in S tier, which is kind of mad. I don't think any other era of Doctor Who's going to do that for me, but it's deserved. They're great. Russell's done a smashing job. But Russell T Davies era 2. What we thinking? One negative right off the bat, I would say the first 1 minute of Russell T Davies era 2 is my least favourite moment in Doctor Who ever. Why on earth did they think, starting the 60th, with David Tennant stood on a green screen going, once upon a time, Lord, was a good idea? Beats me. The episode is brilliant, and I love it, and I love the Doctor, I love Donna, but that 1 minute was really, really distracting, and I'm going to stop whining, because that's my only real complaint. And it's not even a complaint, because it's not part of the episode. Rachel Talalay even said on Twitter, she didn't direct that. She didn't want to be associated with that moment, because it is just kind of like, huh? Do we need this? That's a recap you put on the Doctor Who YouTube channel. Don't put that at the start of the episode. It leaves a sour taste in people's mouths. But, as I say, I'm being very dramatic. It's 1 minute, and it's not even canon to the episode. The Star Beast itself, it's very good. There are a couple of lines in it that make me go, oh, that was a bit of an odd choice. Like, I still cannot wrap my head round what this is something a male presenting Time Lord would never understand. What does that mean? Is the joke that David Tennant can't let go? Because that's quite funny. His final line was, I don't want to go. What? Why does that happen? I love the idea of the regeneration being passed from Donna to her daughter. Not the regeneration, sorry, the Dr. Donna, like the stuff in her mind. That being passed to Rose. That's brilliant. 10 out of 10. I love Yasmin Finney's dynamic with the Meep as well, and Miriam Margolyes plays the Meep so perfectly. Like, there's so much to love with that episode, but the only point of contention I have is let it go, and then the Dr. Donna's done. How does that work? And the male presenting Time Lord line, I don't get it either. It's just a bit odd. Basically everything apart from that, I think, is 10 out of 10 peak Who. The corridor scene and the introduction of characters like Ruth Madley, like, what's her name, Shirley Ann Bingham, it's really, really cool. David Tennant is on top form. Catherine Tate, top form. Sylvia Noble, top form. Yasmin Finney, top form. I know I keep switching between the actors' names and the characters' names, but you get what I mean. The Wraith Warriors, I think, are a little bit silly, but they're fun. The court scene where he puts the wig on, nice reference to Tom Baker. Yeah, Star Beast, solid episode. I'm going to put it in A tier, because certain, like that, the ending of the Meta Crisis does bother me a bit, because it's kind of like, what does that even mean? Like, what's going on? How can you just let go of the Meta Crisis? Like, it's so emotionally resonant in Series 4, and the idea of it being passed down to Donna's daughter, 10 out of 10. But you can't just let it go. A tier. Special 2, Wild Blue Yonder, I am gonna put S or A. I enjoy the Star Beast more, because I prefer that sort of silly, grounded on Earth Doctor Who story, but I can appreciate, I rewatched Wild Blue Yonder yesterday, it's written brilliantly. The dynamic between the Doctor and Donna is fantastic. I think I'm going to put it in A. Maybe I regret that, maybe that's slightly harsh, but it's going in A. I think as a 60th anniversary special, it was a bit of a bizarre choice, because, like, the Star Beast and the Giggle feel thematically very similar, and then Wild Blue Yonder in the middle feels a bit random, but then I suppose that is the joy of Doctor Who. You can always just, week by week, do something completely different, so maybe I'm just chatting waffle again. Wilf coming in at the end, the final scene of Bernard Cribbins, one of my favourite scenes in Doctor Who history. It's so cool, it's so sad, it's so emotional, and just seeing that character back on screen after like 10 years was amazing. The Giggle. A or S? I am going to go with S tier. There's a lot of, not a lot, there's a tiny couple of bits, like, I think the giggle is wrapped up too quickly. Like, knock down a satellite and then the giggle stops broadcasting. That bit's a bit waffly. But the Toymaker, 10 out of 10, 11 out of 10, 12 out of 10. Brilliant, brilliant, brilliant villain. Neil Patrick Harris was born to play a role like that. It's so, so good. The Doctor and Donna, top form. We get to see Bonnie Langford come back as Mel. She's great. Yeah, performance-wise, everyone's on top form. There's not a bad performance in the episode. I do think, however, the bi-generation was an odd choice for Ncuti Gatwa's first moments as the Doctor. But also, every time I watch the episode, I don't care about that. I just go, oh my god, there's two Doctors interacting, this is so, so, so cool. And Ncuti Gatwa's performance is impeccable. He is, like, he comes in and he's just like, oh, it's supposed to be a myth. And he saves the universe in his underpants. What an icon. Yeah, that does mean the David Tennant Doctor saves the universe commando, but we won't think about that. There's also the scene in the TARDIS I don't like where the Doctors are talking to each other. I like the ideas behind it. I like the idea of the Doctor needing therapy. That's why the bi-generation happened, and I think it is narratively justified. Like David Tennant's Doctor, especially in Wild Blue Yonder, you really see like the effects of Flux and Series 13 and the Chibnall era have had on that character. I think it's really nice, but there's just something so unconvincing about they list loads of fan servicey stuff, and the line "Sarah Jane is gone," can you believe that? It's the only line I feel like Ncuti doesn't deliver perfectly. It feels a bit, I don't know, there's just something off with that entire scene. I don't know what it is, but the actual bi-generation scene itself, the defeating of the Toymaker with the game of catch, it's very, very good. The game of catch, maybe you could have done something slightly more dramatic, but it's active, it's quite intense, and there is like the narrative, like, oh, who's going to win, and then the ball goes off. It's quite fun. Yeah, the giggle, for all its faults, which I have picked at, I'm quite harsh, but I think I view Doctor Who through a harsher lens now that I'm older than when I was younger, obviously. But I feel like a lot of the 60th, there are moments from the 60th which are like peak Doctor Who moments. There's a couple of bits and bobs here and there that aren't quite S-tier level, but overall, the giggle, I love it. I've rewatched it so many times. It's going an S-tier. Now, The Church on Ruby Road. Our first episode fully of Ncuti Gatwa and Millie Gibson as the Doctor and Ruby Sunday. I like it. I like the Goblin King. I like the Goblin song. Davina McCall's inclusion is a bit random, but it's fun. It's fun random, not boring random. A tier. I feel like it slightly drags in the middle. The pacing could have been a bit more, and Russell, to be fair to him, did say in Doctor Who Unleashed, or the audio commentary, they originally planned a scene where the Goblin King comes into the apartment, crashes through the hallway and stuff, instead of just the Doctor and Ruby being in that room alone. I think that makes a lot of sense, and I think it was budgetary reasons they couldn't do that. So this isn't, oh no, Russell's done something wrong, it's just the budget restraining them, even with the Disney money. It's a really fun episode. I think it sets up Ruby very nicely. It sets up the mystery of Mrs. Flood nicely, and Ncuti Gatwa is brilliant as the Doctor. He's cool. He's sold me. I like him. Yeah, I'm happy with that. That is my definitive ranking at this present moment, as of March 2024, of Doctor Who, written and overseen by Russell T Davies. Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. If you do want to fill in this tier list, I am going to put it in the description, so go to it. Thank you very much for watching. This has been a very long video. How long? I've been recording for 1 hour and 20 minutes. Thank you very much for watching, and goodbye. Please subscribe.